Excellent. That was incredible what the senator said. It's true. Putting people at the center of our agenda, at the center of our policies, is so important. With that, Mr. Mejia, we would like to hear from you. Good afternoon to everyone. I would like to use this optimistic phrase which says that the last will be first. There was a time, a long period of time, when we started this conference and we were discussing these issues that we would talk about today. And I would like to start off by saying I am the coordinator for projects and security programs and defense for the presidency in Panama. And I would like to thank Robert Pettinger, the president of the forum for the Intelligence Security Forum. And also, I would like to thank Alejo Campos for giving me the opportunity to present a few different considerations and perspectives with you today. These are regional perspectives, but also global security perspectives, which are connected. And so I would like to focus specifically on regional threats during the pandemic, which is showing us, and I say this as an academic, as a researcher from the Institute of Criminology at the University of Panama. It is creating some really interesting, some very unique interactions, and it's teaching us important things. I would speculate that, and I say this, it is an opinion, that criminal organizations, cartels and others, have had to read The Origin of the Species by Charles Darwin about how to adapt, how to evolve in this pandemic, which has had a huge impact on the economy. And so we're not just talking about reactivating, I really talk about rebuilding our construction, which has collapsed essentially at all levels because of this struggle we are facing. And I would say drug trafficking is one of the illegal activities that has the biggest impact on our region. And while it is true that there has been a slowdown in 2020 because of the closing of borders, for example, Panama and Colombia, that does not mean, however, that they have stopped planting and producing cocaine in Colombia. And we have discovered that now 240,000 hectares of the coke plant are being planted. And we can see how this production of that plant has been seized just in enormous numbers by Panama. At the beginning of January to the 30th of June, there were seizures of 30.4 tons of cocaine. In 2020, in that same period of time, 32.8 tons. And this year, 2021, in the same period of time, 63.4 tons of cocaine. That is double of what was seized before. Panama is one of the countries that has put forth most effort in seizures. This is an effort that we must all dedicate ourselves to, keeping in mind that drug trafficking and violence is a public health issue. And if it is not dealt with appropriately, it can cause a pandemic or epidemic, so to speak, in our consuming population. This allows us to create, to understand the relationship between cause and its production in our neighboring country, Colombia, and the seizures that we have been able to do. As you know, the final destination of these products is primarily the United States and Europe. And another threat that we must look at is the issue of migration. In Panama, for the last 13 years, there have been situations with non-traditional nationalities that are coming into our country. In the past, it was Cubans. Cubans came into our country usually by plane, but we started to realize that there were more Africans coming in from Somalia, Ethiopia, those coming in from Asia, from Bangladesh, from Pakistan. And this really alerted us. It really caught our attention. Without a doubt, this represents a social problem and an economic problem, because of the requirement that we have to aid these migrants in a humanitarian way. This means a significant cost. And with the situation that we're going through at this time, it is difficult to provide appropriate attention to these migrants. We had a meeting recently because of a concern on behalf of the Panamanian state because of the presence of almost 10,000 migrants in Colombia waiting for the border to open so that they could flow into our territory. And the agreement was to develop quotas so that 500 of those migrants could cross. The problem is not just the humanitarian situation of these migrants. Of course, they're looking for a better life and they seek to achieve the American dream, right, in the United States. And in this sense, we also are concerned at the margin of being able to achieve these goals. We look at the security issue. We have seen this happen, that globally these experiences are reflected, and in our region they are reflected, and we understand that in these groups there are some lone wolves who take advantage of these migrants and the migrant situation to travel to the border of the United States. There are also people in these groups who are being exploited through human trafficking, and many times they are abandoned. These migrants travel through what is known as the Darien Gap, which is a very wild jungle area. And we have seen that 33% of these migrants are children, boys and girls. And many of these migrants die in the jungle. They are drowned, they are bitten by snakes, they get sick because there are many illnesses that are there in the jungle, in the Darien Gap. This shows the social problem that we must deal with here. We've talked a lot about cybercrime, and I'm not going to go into it too much, but we must remember that during the pandemic, there has been an exponential growth of cybercrime. Panama, for example, has experienced in 5 years 128% growth in cybercrime. Primarily looking at extortions and similar crimes like that, which are done by criminal organizations. And many of them have found this pandemic to be a golden opportunity. If we see that businesses have been profoundly affected by their commercial activities, and they seek to develop online sales, that has had repercussions on e-commerce, which has affected licit or legal commerce. As I highlighted in this conference, this is a very important situation. Our countries don't have experience or technical resources to receive assistance from, or so we need to receive assistance from countries that can give us the technical assistance to deal with this. It's not a threat just against Panama, just against the region. It's a global threat, and we need that technical assistance to face it. Also, I would like to highlight another issue of environment, which is something that is in the agenda. It is something that has significant impacts, and we must talk about it because of the devastating effects it has on our environment, especially in Panama. The Darien jungle is one of the few jungles left in America untouched, and we must maintain careful controls of any logging happening in that area. There's also gold mining, which affects our water resources and the indigenous peoples who survive by fishing and in other ways are connected to our rivers. I had the opportunity, thanks to what my friend Alejo mentioned, to participate in Central America, El Salvador, and Guatemala talking about this issue. And it is something that deserves our full attention. It's not just contrabanding ants. Now we're talking about contrabanding elephants. And now the fiscal seizures that we're looking at in the country are so significant. This is a health issue, and this affects health because we are looking at falsified medicines. We are looking at fake cigarettes. People believe that when they buy a cigarette, it's cheaper to buy it illegally, but they don't realize the problems with the quality of those cigarettes. That is a significant problem, which led to the closure of a Chinese company which was producing cigarettes, which were negatively affecting the health of our countrymen. So, as we face this problem, a country with a service economy, with a robust banking system, with the first free zone in the hemisphere, has put forth an immense amount of effort to create protocols and procedures in order to avoid our free zone being used as a platform for the development of contrabands and other issues like falsified medications. What other issues are important here as a country? The Minister of Security here today, Mr. Juan Pino, spoke with you about the issue of asset forfeiture. And I understand that he will be talking about that tomorrow. He's a big fan of that topic. Here in Panama, there are criminal organizations which capture a lot of assets, and we don't have necessarily norms that would give the resources to reorient them. Now we have a need for it, as we do have a need for health issues, for the vaccination issue, which we are progressing in very well in our country. On the other hand, dealing with the issue of drug trafficking, we seek to create an Air Navy Center for Operations known as CROAN. This organization has developed a joint workforce with our institutions, the National Police, the National Border Patrol, the Air Navy, and the result has been seen in seizures. Today, another significant number of kilos of cocaine was seized. Panama is a transit country. And as a country with more than 12,000 kilometers of ocean, this is a challenge to capture and find these criminal actors. Many aspects of crime that occur in our countries come from criminal criminal organizations outside of our country, transnational organizations that have repercussions in Panama. And we are seeing some of that violence from these revenge killings and the territorial fights of these organizations. Finally, I would like to mention the work of all of our countries together, as we must consider that we cannot meet our goals working alone. We must join together to fight for our people. For this reason, I believe it is very important to put forth that effort, to put ourselves to work. I'm here to answer any questions or concerns that you might have. Thank you.